welcome back to the Maturity Project. I'm your host, Chad Shears, and I am talking today about physical maturity and more of a historical value for physical maturity. So, if you're new to this channel, we talk about 8 different areas of maturity. Today is the first area of maturity, if you will. Now, all 8 areas are important and necessary in order to have more of a fulfilling life. The areas that you're immature in, you'll have less functionality. Basic and simplistic, right? Problem is that we don't typically have people that can guide us in all 8 areas very effectively, especially when you're dealing with all of the challenges that adults have to face, especially when raising children, from finance issues, relationship issues, their work, their physical body and health, their community and how they interact with people, their sexuality, and whether or not they're actually in a fulfilling and a significant relationship that brings degrees of satisfaction for that. Their emotions and whether or not that's actually something that can be accessed or if it's something that's set on autopilot that's been designed by a history of the family saying things they can or cannot address. Whatever, there's so many different things when it comes to actually what distracts our early authorities from us. And it's not they're wrong for it either. We have to stop blaming our past because that takes away the responsibility of who we currently are and what you have and work from there. So with that, the 8 areas of maturity, and I'm going to try not to belabor you guys with this, especially for people that have been subscribers for the channel and watch multiple videos that are familiar with it. Bear with it. Just let me get through these real quick. First area is physical. Second area is community. Third area is cognitive or intelligence. Fourth area is emotion. Fifth area is finance. Sixth area is business. Seventh area is sexuality. And the 8th area is spirituality or purpose. So those are 8 areas of maturity. By addressing each one of those and developing yourself in each one, you'll have more of a fulfilling life throughout your life. So what else are we going to do? Why not organize what we're up to and actually create a better outcome? So that physical. First off, history of me. My history. I'm the second to youngest out of 6 boys. One, the oldest, had cerebral palsy, so he was bedridden. He became a totem for me. He's one of the totems on the totem pole. That is a representation of physical because he was unable to physically do much, and I felt that I had something specific that he didn't have, and therefore I couldn't take advantage of that, and I needed to live my life in a way that would honor his interests of being able to do certain things, so the physical aspects. My next older brother to me, being again I'm the second to youngest, Jason, he was big into fitness early on in my younger formative years prior to being even 10 years old. The movie Twins came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, and I was really inspired by that. There was one scene in the movie where Arnold had his arm out the window, the girl leaned into him, he flexed his bicep and tore his shirt. Now, I know now as an adult, whatever, but back then it was very inspiring. My brother Jason also thought that, hey, at that age, which he was, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old, something like that, that he'd become a personal trainer. It was a cool thing. So he was showing off with his friends, and he was demonstrating the fact that he could train people, and I was his client, right? So he had me doing push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that. And so in elementary school, I started exercising. We had some weights, air concrete weights with plastic surrounding it and all of that. And I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I was introduced to fitness then, and I started to take it seriously because my brother encouraged me to do so. Not kinda. I was part of his rapport building with his friends to show that he was capable of certain things, and I was a recipient. So my brother Craig and I, before we go to bed at night, we would do sit-ups and push-ups in the living room. My brother Craig is almost 2 years younger than me, so he and I would in the living room would be doing that before bed, off the couch and all this stuff, and tricep dips and whatnot. So you can imagine little kids doing this stuff. So that was more of where I was introduced to it. I followed through. I followed the pattern of my brother Michael, my brother Jason. They both were lean prior to being teenagers, and then when we became teenagers, they started putting on weight. I did the same thing, and I got chunky, husky, as the gene manufacturers would put it. So my teen years, and in high school, middle school and high school, I really wanted to date, but I was not the most physically appealing. I was a little chunky kid. But I was really sweet, I was kind and caring, and much like I am now, I really do care, and I want to connect with people, and I have a good sense of justice, if you will. I'm trying to keep things as fair as possible in life, and to create the most desirable outcome for everybody involved is my intentions. So, so I was everybody's friend. The girls that I liked, I was their friend. I was the nice guy, and that was my way of demonstrating my value. But physically, I was not very appealing. But I had the guys that were the popular guys in school. Well, I befriended them as well, but that's also because they were the cool guys, and I just liked people and always have. And the cool guys saw me as access to the pretty girls because the pretty girls were friends with me, and the cool guys were now friends with me, and I was more of just the liaison, if you will. But that wasn't my intention. I wanted to be friends with everybody, and I wanted to have a girlfriend, and I didn't really have a lot of that. I was the connector. So it was a challenging time for me because I really didn't get the girl. I didn't get the relationship. And so it was undesirable, but I was still working out. I didn't know what I was doing very effectively. It wasn't like the science of exercise was really something I focused on because I didn't really, there was other things that I was looking into, and I was kind of ignorant to it all. Not kind of, I was very ignorant to it all. So moving through, I've had a lot of things, and at some point, whenever it comes to when I do more like relationships, I'll talk about the narratives that I live inside of when it comes to that. But right now, I'll focus on the physical. So I continued on, and as I went through my teen years, I developed an eating disorder. It was a bulimia. I'd eat and then I'd throw up, purge. Because here I am, I've got some really good friends of mine that the girls really liked. They were in great shape. They take off their shirts, and I'm like, no way am I taking my shirt off. You want to jump in the water? You want to jump off the bridge into the river and all this? And I'm like, I grew up doing that stuff. So it wasn't like I had a lot of fear of jumping off a bridge, but my fear outside of school, hanging out, whatever, jumping off a bridge and then having my shirt stuck to me. And you could just see how I'm like have extra body fat and all this. And it was just embarrassing. So like, no, I don't really want to until I finally gave in. But it was always like I had to deal with that before doing the things that everybody else just got to do. So I had to deal with the insecurities. And it was just tough. But I continued, and seeing that an eating disorder could have been a way to get through it. I remember eating one of my favorite foods as a kid. My grandparents lived in Indiana, and they come down to Florida a couple of times a year, and they would bring this barbecue that there was a company in Indiana that made it, glass jar. I don't remember even what it was called, but it was absolutely delicious. I loved it. It was my favorite food. That and banana pudding. Loved it. So my grandmother and grandfather would bring this down on my mom's side. And I'd eat it, whatever. But I recall one time I ate just a little bit of it, not much. And then I was sitting in my room, which was on the second floor. And I decided that I didn't want to be fat. And I'd already purged before, but I was sitting there, but I was conflicted because I just had one of my favorite foods, and then I go to the window and I puke it up. So it was a bit of a challenge to go through. Here I am, I'm a guy, and eating disorders seemed to be something that was more gender specific to females, and I'm heterosexual, but I'm not getting the girls and dating, and everybody wants to come to me. By the way, it's incredibly challenging. The popular guys, the cool guys liked me. The pretty girls liked me. The popular and cool girls liked me. Because just that guy, I liked everybody. I was very, very nice to everyone. And I didn't try to cause problems. I just wanted to be supportive. So here they are. They would meet through me, and the girls wouldn't want to date me. And then they'd have their relationship issues, and the girls would run right to me to complain about the guy that they were dating that was my friend. And it's just this weird thing that kept happening, and it really had wore on me quite a bit. So it made me work harder on the physical side because I wanted to be physically appealing to the point that maybe I would have been a good opportunity for them to date. I was going to be kinder, more understanding, all these things, because I also didn't have options. So that was one of the challenges that the guys that were the cool guys had, is that they had challenges, or they had options. So they may be dating the girl they wanted to date, but once they dated them, they realized who they were. They got found out for who they were, and then it's just this constant seeking where the grass is greener thing. And I'm in the middle cleaning all this stuff up consistently. Why can't I be the guy? So I continued to physically work on becoming the guy, be the one that people wanted to. If the guys are going to be friends with me, it's because I was also one of the cool ones, not because they had access to me through other girl for the girls. And for the girls, they were going to be friends with me because they liked me for all of me, not because I was there to hear them out, not because I was the kind guy, but because I was attractive and I was charismatic and funny and that. So I started building that reality back then. Now, again, I didn't know much about exercise science at the time. But so going through my teen years, obviously I had girlfriends along the way, but it wasn't an abundant opportunity. I'd go long spans of time single, oh, but everybody else is dating around me. So I continue to push into that physical side, continue to develop myself on the physical side. So I followed a lot of the bodybuilding stuff as I got into my later teens. First time I joined a gym, I would think I was 18 or 19 years old. Felt really weird. I worked out at home up until then. It got the big hard sales pitch from the director of training or the director of fitness at the Gold's Gym in Spring Hill, this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not buying training, willing to do the work, and I'll do it, whatever. Um, Became friends with this guy, Adam, is one of my best friends still to this day. We worked out in his bunkhouse together. And then I started referring to him as my client and as if I was his trainer, right? And I'd say I was his trainer, and I'd introduce myself that way because I really wanted to be validated that I was knowledgeable and all that. But I wasn't out to be insincere, but I just wanted to make a difference and be known for something and not be just one of the many other people out there. Anyway, I put a lot of effort into developing myself in that world then go through my 20s, and I've read a lot of muscle magazines. That's pretty much it. Like, I was done with high school. I didn't read again until, like, outside of muscle magazines, fitness, whatever. Back then, it wasn't fitness magazines. It was predominantly bodybuilding magazines. You see Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, and these beasts of human beings, right? Like, they have a brand new product by, like, Mac or whomever, right? And they're sitting there with a brand new released to market product. And I remember one specific advertisement that really stood out, and it made me start to really reconsider all of it, where they had this tub of whey protein on the guy's, Jay Cutler's right thigh, and then this really attractive woman on his left leg, right? So tub of protein over here, hand on top of it, and then his hands wrapped around the girl on the other side. And this is massive dude, right? By the way, Jay Cutler, very intelligent human being. Still active, and anyway, but I won't go down that track, but just know that he's a very intelligent person. But he was paid for the advertisement. Back then, I didn't have that depth of awareness necessarily. This is where it really started to become apparent. Sitting there going, this guy did not get these muscles based off of that product because that product was just released. It takes a decade to become that guy, and the physical, if you have the genetic potential with they call them PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. With all of that stuff, yeah, you possibly become that guy. That's bodybuilding is full of it. Then I'm like, okay, there's something wrong here. So I started to pull back, but I was consuming a lot of these products at that time because I wasn't aware. I saw that guy. I wanted to be like him. It was exactly what marketing wanted. So I paid a lot of money. Well, I continued into my later 20s, 27-ish, and I developed a digestive condition that at this time now, I'm 45 years old, look back and say that has a significant degree of that product, the whey protein, because the bacteria in your gut will eat whatever you put in there, and then you'll cultivate the bacteria in your gut based off of what you put into it. And if you consistently put in a lot of whey protein, well, there's specific bacteria that eats a lot of that. Well, I developed this autoimmune condition. And my doctor at the time that I got, which by the way, had this huge cancer scare, all this because there's blood in my stool. I finally got to the point where I got my testosterone checked, and this is pre-blood in the stool. I got my testosterone checked, and I was told that I was on the very low end of the spectrum, barely on what's considered to be healthy, and I was in my mid-20s, and I was active. I worked out 6 days a week. I was very active. I'm like, is that there? And she's like, well, free versus total testosterone. Your free testosterone is your total. She's like, well, but I could try this supplement, which was an androgel, which is just that you rub it on your shoulders and see what it does for you, and if it increases your testosterone. I felt amazing trying it out, and I only did half what the recommended or the prescribed dose was. So it took what she gave me from 1 week to 2 weeks. Well, in that 2 week window, I treated my body horribly. I didn't know any better. No one taught me how to really take care of my body. So I was dramatically dehydrated, like dramatically. Like I just, water was not the quality of hydration as much as it was anything that was wet, right? Like I didn't think hydration. I just drank whenever I was thirsty. But I exercised, so I thought, hey, I'm still looking fairly well, and therefore, be too much harm here. So I spent time with, that mindset. And in that 2 week window, it showed up, right? Like I was taking the stuff, my strength went through the roof. Like it was like, oh my God, what my max weight was it felt something closer to the low end of working weight. Like incredible. Turns out now, especially, higher adult life, I've had low testosterone. Oh, and I didn't know. I just adjusted to it. In that 2 week window, and I was 27 years old at the time. In that 2 week window, my father had already passed away, unfortunately, and challenge that I've been dealing with. And anyway, I'll go through that in another video. But I felt great, and then all of a sudden, one day, I'm like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, I was like, nothing's really happening. But then whenever I, to, up after, noticed there was a lot of blood. I'd never seen this before. Scared the hell out of me. Oh, and the first thing, I'm a hypochondriac, and I'll get into that another time too when it comes to other things. But or at least I was raised to be a hypochondriac. Not my mom, but more my dad. But anyway, again, that was a control thing, and I'll get into that another time. I went to take care of myself, and whatever, and I realized there was a lot of bright red blood, and a lot. And I looked in the toilet bowl, which I only do that after, like you go to flush. And there it is, and immediately I'm like, oh my God, something's really wrong here. I sought out, support, and went to see a doctor to get all this stuff. And there was I could finally get checked. It was, so I went to my primary care, and I use humor to diffuse stress, or at least I used to specifically, and I'll still do it occasionally. I go in to see her, and her name is Charmin, like the toilet paper. And I'm going in because of some problem with my butt, right? Like, no, I'm thinking, Anyway, so I go in to see to see her, and she's actually a nurse practitioner, but anyway, at least she was. I don't know what she is anymore, because that was 20 plus years ago, or damn near 20 years ago. Not 20 plus, but almost 20 years ago. I go in to see her, and I know I'm getting a finger. I know it. I'm gonna get right up the old keister. Never done that. Not on a good date going the right way, or a good date going the wrong way. Never happened before in my life. Then I go in to see her, and I talk to her about what's going on, and she's like, well, I'm just going to have to do a quick check here. I'm like, okay. She had me she's like, all right, we'll put this gown on. Like, I hadn't really done that before either, in a doctor's office. And she's like, all right, we'll put this on, lay on the table, lay on your side, or turn your hips to the side. And then she came in, and I'm like, in my mind, I already had an idea I was going to get it, like it's going to happen. And I came up with, to help me diffuse it. I had this idea, like, I was going to do. I was going to start singing once she actually gave me the finger. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, right? Like, part of me is going, you're going to be told you have cancer and you're going to die. And another part of me is like, somebody's going to, like, something you've never had done before. And there's little bits of curiosity about whether or not I enjoy it. I'm like, oh man, I got to deal with this, right? I'm confronted right now. Life is about to happen in a different way than what I necessarily have control over. And so I'm like, all right. So I got my hips to the side, got the little gown thing. She moves it up enough I can feel the air in the room, and I'm like, oh, my cheeks are exposed. Oh Lord. And then I feel her hand on my right butt cheek, because I turned my legs to the left, and she had pulled my right cheek up. And I'm like, oh, I feel the air conditioning kissing other parts of me that wasn't there just a second ago. And then I hear the sequence is out of order here. I heard the squeezing of the lubricant. Then I felt her pull my cheeks. And then I'm like, oh man, this is about to happen. And then there was anyway. And so at that moment, as soon as the breach occurred, God. And then I'm like, Charmin, I prepared a song for you. And she's like, okay, mind if I sing it? And the whole time, like, doing her thing. And I'm like, I'm trying to deal with the stress, by the way. I'm not like actually fully enjoying this. It's a shock, really. And so she's like, okay. She's like, oh, and she's like, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll sing it for you now. And she's like, okay, go ahead and do it. I'm like, all right. I was like, at last, my love has come around. Goofy bastard. It wasn't whether or not I liked it. It was the fact that it would cause enough humor to at least steal the embarrassment away from me. Change it so that I wasn't so embarrassed by what just happened. But that opened my eyes to a lot of things. She's like, look, I can't really make a determination off of this. I don't know, not feeling anything that necessarily causes concern, but you're going to need to go and see a specialist. So I kid you not, the specialist that she recommended was somewhat local. He was about, I want to say, he was within a 30-minute drive. No, 45-minute drive from that doctor's office. And I had to make an appointment, and I had to wait to go see him again. It's horror, right? I don't know. You're sitting there like, you're thinking, I want to be a father sometime in my life. I really do. But if it turns out that I have cancer or something like that, treatments to save my life could make me infertile, paralyze me. I'm like, God, I hope that's not the case, right? It was a big fear that I had to deal with on a daily basis for a while. And then I went to see the specialist, and it was within 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly how long it took, but it wasn't like immediate entry, right? There was, pun intended. I had to wait to get in there. And so I finally, when I got in, I went to go see this guy. He was in the northern part of Homosassa. And when I got to his doctor's office, I went in to do paperwork and whatnot. And I'm standing there at the receptionist desk, and I'm waiting to get the paperwork, and I'm looking at all these, like, a lot of doctors' offices have plaques and stuff, and awards and things like that, whatever, and or the multiple doctors that may be part of a practice there. I'm there to see Anal, and I see in writing there is Analram, and his name, he's an Indian doctor, his name was Anal Ram. Well, in America, in the English writing, ANAL is anal, and RAM is ram. So here I am to see a guy named Anal Ram for bleeding stool, right? For blood in my stool. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, a minute, is that really his name? And she's like, yes, sir. He was on Letterman. The top 10 doctors' names on David Letterman. Because that's, in 2007-ish. Yeah, it was 2007. Anal Ram. Let's go see this guy. Anyway, so I saw whatever, and they, the same thing, and they're like, look, we just have to do a colonoscopy, and we don't have any availability for a while. So I started shopping around, and I found another Dr. Craig. He's in Brooksville. And anyway, he's another Indian doctor. And his conversation with me, they did a lot of the abdominal pressure and stuff like that to see if there was any kind of reaction or anything they could feel. And not much really came out of that. Gave me 2 different medications. Neither one of them were effective. One of them was where you had to shoot it in there and then hope that it would actually, direct contact, calm down the inflammation and what was causing the bleeding. And he did his first colonoscopy. At this point, I've had got a punch card of these. When I asked him, what can I do as a lifestyle to change this, to fix it? The only thing he had to say to me was trial and error, food diary. That's it. And I'm like, what's common? It's common. And I'm like, well, is there anything at all that you can tell me about this? He says, that's it. I don't have anything else to tell you. And then he told me that I had the colon of a 90-year-old person and that there was a very real chance he was going to have to remove my colon. So, 27 years old, hearing that's a really hard thing to accept. And I won't go through all the other stories, like the first time he did his colonoscopy and all that stuff. I will say the worst part of a colonoscopy is the prep. It really is. It's just starving and being in the bathroom nearly all day. That's the worst part, is the starving, really. The bathroom all day with that condition is not uncommon. But starving is part of it, and that is incredibly horrible. At the height of the condition, he was going to the bathroom about 32 times a day. So why is this important to the physical? Well, I went with the effort and desire to put on weight and to have more of an athletic build and be performance related with my physique and my exercise conditioning. The supplementation, and I do put a lot of the effort, a lot of the blame on the supplementation. There's a lot of lifestyle stuff too, but the supplementation didn't help. I was over consuming whey, because at this point in time, whey protein is one of my triggers. If I have it, it can cause me to flare up. So, direct correlation. It took me 11 years to find that out. It's a tough timeline to finally figure out something like that. There's a whole lot of life that you're just not living. So, this was all in the name of getting myself into a better shape. So, we do all kinds of things to ourselves in our lifetime. This is just my story. There's plenty of people that have done other things. They don't necessarily realize the road that they're on can cause damages to them. So that's not for everybody, it's just some of us. Consider it now to be more of a gift. Got down to, in my adult life, I got down to 157 pounds was my lowest weight. Heaviest, as far as muscular, 229. So 157 to 229. Yeah, I didn't lose all that. I had gotten down to 157. I was about 193 pounds, and then I just could not maintain anything because I was just, condition had taken so much from me. This is the physical, right? I put a lot of effort into becoming physically fit and to have a very desirable physique because I wanted to have a relationship and draw people in to actually get to know me beyond just the physical, but at least if nothing else. It all came from some place. We all go through stuff. We all have our own stories. The physical body, I've got a lot more maturity in that because it's the demand that has been on me. I can't use the cheats that some supplements would give you, although I do take TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, as I've maintained a low testosterone level my entire adult life. It's not steroids. It's not anabolic in any way other than just the therapies. So you're not seeing somebody that's bodybuilding with all these anabolics and all these performance enhancing drugs and things like that. That's not what I do. As far as that goes, it's not to rob me of my results. It's just to put me into the right category of myself and for my physical well-being. If you're not familiar with it, before you pass too much judgment, I would definitely look into it and then find out more before just dismissing or discrediting something here. This is just being direct and honest. Have done one bodybuilding competition. I was 20 years old at the time. That's a funny story, and won't spend it today with you, but I did do one, and I realized I have no ambition whatsoever to ever do another one. It was not even novice. It was just put on by a radio station in Crystal River. It was a lot of fun, but the prep work and all the rest of that, I don't interested. Have a high expectation for myself and my physical well-being and the work that I put into it, but same time I don't have those goals. That's not mine. Be physically capable and functional. That's it. And I do still enjoy that, but I prefer functionality over that. So physical, we all have our place, man. I'm a fitness expert, if you will. I've a business that was capable of going in and actually fixing gyms, not just in personal training, but the whole business itself. Still active. It's Company Brochures and Associates. So we go in and we fix gyms. I've sent businesses outside of the fitness industry. So, but there's a lot that's come out of that path in life. But in the physical world, you don't want to lose your health in the pursuit of vanity. That's definitely a lesson that I've learned. Health is really hard to get back, and this is a maturity thing. If you don't have the guidance, you don't have the insights, it's easy to go off the rails. So the maturity project's all about that. This is just the physical side of it. There's still more to it, but I'm not going to spend too much time on one particular topic, but I'll continue to grow out from here. So as far as that goes, a lot of things that have to do with the physical body that we could talk about, but just know that you're not alone. You don't have to have my experiences, and you won't likely have had that. There's a lot of things to talk about. But the thing is just aligning yourself with the most desirable outcome, so you don't trade your well-being for the future because of the attachment to your goal. We can do it tactfully, and that's what the maturity project's about. Learn from my lessons, if you will. That these lessons weren't just learned for myself, because I got to tell you, this is my life. I still deal with this condition. It's not as aggressive now, but I do have an awareness that it's probably going to be the thing that takes my life at some point in time. But in the interim of that, I have to make a better opportunity for other people. And if I can prevent other people from taking that same route to create that condition in themselves, if in fact what caused it for me is what I believe it is, I would rather that you not have to go to those extremes in order to achieve your physical conditioning that you're after. Let's keep your health in mind, not just the aesthetics, not just the, not you're attractive, attractive too. So, all right, until next time, this is the Maturity Project. I'm your host, Chad Everett Brochures. This is physical maturity. And share this video with the people in your life that you really want to make a meaningful conversation with. Why not? No, don't wait. Wait to start your life tomorrow or the day after. It's what you do today can change a habit. Work on it with us. This channel, watch these videos on a daily basis. I typically produce 7 days a week now, minus the storms that we just went through here in the you can pretty much expect to have a video up once a day. So this is 191. No, I'm sorry, this is 192. 192 videos already on this particular channel specifically. So comment in the comment section, join in the community, let us hear from you. What's some of your physical goals? Did you learn anything in the process? Where are you and where are you at now and where are you going? What's your goals? Join in that community. We're a community for change. We're a community to support each other through our own experiences. So it's a maturity project. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like the video. Help me with the algorithm. Everybody says it on YouTube, other outlets. All right, till next time. Remember, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. I found mine, and I'd like to not have you build the same thing. We can lay those bricks in another direction. We can find our utopia together. All right, let's get up to it together, shall we? Let's go.